1850 715 815.
Hello, Jane. Good afternoon.
Good afternoon. How are you?
What's your view on the Angelus?
My name is Jane Donnelly, and I'm actually from Atheist Ireland. And the Angelus is a call to prayer for Catholics. It is not a religious programme as such. It is a call to prayer, and it is not a moment of reflection. And the state broadcaster has a duty of neutrality, and I don't think that they are fulfilling that duty of neutrality. Under the Irish Constitution, the state is obliged not to endow any religion. Also, the state is obliged to not discriminate between religions. So when you have the state broadcaster giving a minute or whatever it takes, just before, at prime time, just before the 6-1 news, it is endowing religion. It is giving advertisement, free advertisement to the main religion in the country. And
yet you can hear how much it, Jane, you can hear how much it means to people like Sean. You can hear quite plainly in his voice the distress that it would cause if you were to get rid of it. Why do that to somebody?
Well, you don't have to get rid of it. What you have, all he needs to do, he can get an application for his phone. Why can't you do that? It's a personal belief in the Angelus. It's a call to prayer for Catholics. We are not a Catholic country, we are a pluralist country. And the majority in the country happen to be Catholics. So do you not feel that it is endowing religion, forbidden by the Constitution,
why,
when you're giving free advertisement to the main religion?
Sean, you could listen to the Angelus in your car, in your home, wherever you are, on your phone. Why do you need to have it forced on everybody else?
I'm not having it forced on anybody at all. As I said, they can turn it off, go into another room, change channel. I listen to it. I do listen to it in the car because I travel a lot. And it's like putting it on my phone. Did she just say that? Getting an application for the Angelus to put on my phone. Are you joking me?
No.
Please say you are. Please say you're a comedian.
Why do you feel
Please say you're a comedian.
that the state and the state broadcaster should give you a call to prayer for your religion in a pluralist country?
Is it offensive to anybody?
I tell you what the problem is. And I'll tell you what's the problem.
Is it offensive?
It is. It offends me. Because, I tell you why. Because I'm one of these people in Ireland that do not have the right to freedom of conscience. Ireland was up before the UN last week, and it was the rights of secular parents and religious minorities in Irish schools and religious oaths that the UN Human Rights Committee were concerned about.
But that's two very different things. The education system and the broadcast system are
very different things.
Well, they are, Jane, because RTE doesn't run the schools and the schools don't run RTE.
Yeah, but you're giving the people that are doing the discrimination, the main religious body in the country, free advertisement. So can you imagine what it's like for parents who have been refused into their local Catholic school because they can't produce a Catholic baptismal certificate, or for any parent that child has been forced into religion class? Can you imagine what it's like for them when they turn on the radio and hear the Angelus? Do you not think that affects them after the discrimination and the hurt that they feel of being
again, Sean, can you put the shoe on
their human rights undermined?
Sean, can you again put the shoe on the other foot and imagine yourself in the position that Jane talks about?
Jane, are you talking about schools, or are you talking about the Angelus?
Both.
Well, we're talking about the Angelus.
Yes, it is, but it's like the background noise. It's like a background noise all the time.
Turn it off,
I went to vote the last time, and there was a Bible on the table. If you're asked to take for the president or a judge or anything, you have to take a religious oath in this country.
So what? So what?
That is a breach of... Yeah,
I tell you what.
I'll tell you so what if you give me a minute to tell you what. So that is a breach of the right to freedom of conscience, or freedom of religion, as you like to call it.
So
and
if you
freedom
go to court
of conscience and freedom of religion is the basis for any democratic society. That's what it is. So I believe we are a republic, a democratic society, a pluralist people. Those things do not belong in this country.
So if you go to court and the judge says, will you put your hand on the Bible, you would object to that, is it?
Of course, and I object to the judge asking me to that.
You'll object
because
to
that's a breach of my rights. You do not have to publicly state what religion you are, because that is belong to the right to freedom of conscience.
The courts have found a way around this, though. I'm wondering, is there not a similar way around it here? Because all you have to do now in court is, if you are not Christian, if you do not want to swear on the Bible, you just have to affirm that you are going to tell the truth.
Hold on 1 minute for that. You have to object to taking the oath. You have to publicly state that you are not a Christian.
No, that's not true. That's not true. All you have to do is say, my preference is. You don't have to. No, well, I've been in court. I've witnessed this, so maybe that judge wasn't observing.
But it's written into the Act. If you look at the Act, you have to say, my preference is, because I'm not a Catholic or a Christian, to take the affirmation. But you don't. That is a key point, because under human rights law, you do not have to publicly profess what religion you are. And the Law Reform Commission have already submitted, I think it was in the early 90s or something like that, a report to remove all religious oaths from courts. All of them.
If your concern, Jane, is to create a secular Ireland and a secular republic, are there not other manifestations of religion that are far more important to you than something as, well, frankly, seemingly inoffensive to most people as the Angelus?
Well, it's all right, very well saying that, but if you're put in the position, if you're in the position that you're discriminated because you don't have a religion, you hear the Angelus on the TV or the radio or whatever, and it becomes very upsetting for you and annoying for you. Now, I don't go around the place all the time arguing about the Angelus. It just has come up on the radio. Last week, I was in Geneva arguing for the rights of atheists and secular parents and religious minorities in Ireland who have no choice but to go to Catholic schools where they cannot opt out of the religious integrated curriculum. That's what I was doing. I was arguing about religious oaths. I actually wasn't arguing about the Angelus, but that's what I was doing last week. I was in Geneva.
So the Angelus is low down your list. The Angelus is lower down your list of priorities. Anyway, another call coming in from North America. Brendan, good morning to you as well. How are you?
Good, Philip. How are you?
So, are you for or against the retention of the Angelus?
No, we got to keep the Angelus. It's part and parcel of what we grew up with, and I listen to it every single day on via the internet, and I'm not offended by it. I mean, I don't understand. I mean, you can still have a secular society and still have the Angelus. It's like one of your callers said. You can turn it off. Just turn it off if you don't want to listen to it. I mean, before I moved to the States, I was in England, and my daughter went to the local public school, and every single morning she stood alongside Jews, Hindus, Sikhs, and they recited Christian prayer. And it was a Church of England school, because it was so. While in Rome, I had to do it, and I was not offended by that whatsoever. And likewise here in the United States, you can go. You're not happy, just go to your own Catholic school, or if you don't want to go to a Catholic, go to public school. There's no religion. Admittedly, there's no religion in that public school.
Can I come in there?
Jane, yes.
Yes, please.
Cool.
Last week, the UN asked the state what it was going to do to remove religious discrimination in access to education. It asked the state what it was going to do to permit children to opt out of not only religious instruction classes, but the religion that is integrated into the state curriculum. Parents in Ireland do not have a choice what school. Most of the schools are religious schools, and they are discriminated in access and in the schools. So it is a completely different system than the one that is in North America. We have a unique system here. We have religious schools. We do not have a parallel system of non-denominational schools. So for somebody to say to me that it's okay, the Angelus is a call to prayer for everyone, and it's secular, that doesn't really make sense because it looks like the Angelus and it sounds like the Angelus. It is the Angelus. You cannot say to me that it is a moment of reflection because I live in a country that discriminates against atheists, secularists and religious minorities. And then every day you put on RTE...
Well, no, hang on, Jane. Discrimination would be a requirement by the state that the Angelus be broadcast on each and every single media platform at 12 and at 6 o'clock. That doesn't happen.
But you're the state broadcaster. You get state funding. That's the issue. And the issue is, as well, that under the Constitution, the state is obliged not to discriminate between religions. So you are, as a state broadcaster, not you in particular now, you are, as a state broadcaster, broadcasting a call to prayer for Catholics. You give them a minute free advertisement every day in a country that discriminates against atheists and minorities.
You've made that point. Sean, come on, back in there.
It's getting to a ridiculous stage, this conversation, I think. It's back to, that lady is a professional. That's what she does. She
I'm an ordinary person. I'm an ordinary person. I don't get paid for doing this.
You're a professional at what you do.
Thank you very much, but I tell you why I do this, because I suffered discrimination, like a lot of parents and a lot of minorities. And this is what I do because I suffered discrimination.
Oh, well.
And many parents are like me.
Yeah, if I can speak for a moment, I don't think that anybody has made a case at all today that the Angelus is offensive in any way. And that's my point. It's not offensive. It's a call to prayer. It's a call to prayer for Catholics. If people don't like it, it's just 2-3 minutes, turn it off, or change the channel, or whatever you like to do. Leave it as it is. Leave it to the Irish people that we're used to. We grew up with it. It's the only
Sean, the point, surely, if we've learned anything from this conversation,
as well.
Let's not conflate all of these things into a discussion about the end. Just hang on.
The thing about it is that I'm being told that this is tradition. So that was all part of our tradition.
Yeah, and this is the point. And this is the point that I want. Hang on a second, Jane. This is the point that I want to bring to Sean. That surely, if Sean, we've learned one thing from this conversation, it is that offence and being offended by something is a very, very subjective test. And just because you get some emotional succour from this doesn't mean that it's not going to irritate the bejesus out of other people.
True. Yes, true. What I'm amazed about is the two calls that are far holding. It came from outside the country, which I'm ashamed to say that maybe other calls came in that you didn't get to, but I was sure that there would be a huge defence to keep it. I was sure that the phones would be hopping to keep it, and the two calls that you put on air were from North America or America or wherever. I thought that the phones would be hopping with rural people in defence and keeping the Angelus on the airwaves.
Well, I have to say they're actually not, and so far I'm sure there's maybe one or two other calls. Maybe they're not prepared to go on air, but you're the only person who has been prepared to go on air to speak in favour of holding on to the Angelus.
Yes. I'm amazed.
And I appreciate how...
Oh, sorry. I mean inside the country, because of course Helen and Brendan are want to hold on to it, but they're living elsewhere. Helen, yes, go on.
Yes. Let me see. I looked at schools in Ireland because I wanted to return with my son, and I read about educating together schools, which I believe are non-denominational, and there are more and more of them. No, they're not non-denominational?
No, they're multi-denomination. There's about 65 to 70 of them out of 3,300 Catholic schools.
So things are changing, and I think some issues are being confused. And my main point was that the Angelus does serve a purpose, and I think many people do appreciate a moment of reflection. Irish people are less and less Catholic today, but I think some spirituality, some opportunity to express one's spirituality is important, and I see the Angelus as, or I hear the Angelus as an opportunity
as it being exactly
mindful.
that. All right, Helen, thank you very much, and Brendan and Jane and Sean. I should say, just in the interests of clarity, that there are plenty of text messages of support for your point of view, but just
Philip,
not that many people who are prepared to go on air. All right.
Okay, thank you.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thanks very
Thank you
much.
all
Thank
for.
you.
Cheers. Bye-bye.
1850 715 815.